Yo, what's up guys? It's Katos13 here with another video, and today I'm just going to talk about part 2 really quick and what I think about the test realm and what I think could be different, what could change and stuff like that, the good old stuff. So, I want to talk about just a couple of things. I'm going to talk about story, spells, and content. And, well, I guess you could link story and content together, but out of Empire Part 2, people have to understand that this is a part of a full world. It's not a full world. People have been saying that it's a full world. Stop saying it's a full world because it's not a full world. Alright? So if you think that Empire is shorter than Mirage, Empire Part 2 is shorter than Mirage, of course it is because it's a part of a world. The full world of Empire is pretty much the longest world in Arc 3 because it has two parts that are like half worlds, or a little bit longer than half a world, each part. So, yeah. Empire is a world in Arc 3, finally has some kind of meat content, and that you can't just blow through. You could still blow through some parts in Part 2 really easily. Me and my friend did that. But there's some bosses out there who cheat in Part 2 that will one-shot you sometimes, will do some damage if you don't walk out. So there's a lot of interesting boss mechanics in Part 2, which makes Part 2 stand out above every Part 1. So let's just talk about spells first. So I'm going to talk about spells in the PvP and PvE sense, and what I think they need to do. The spells are not balanced. If you want a balanced game, you would want everyone to be able to hit the 2 times mark on the spells. I'll show a picture of the spells throughout the video, and I'll talk about it throughout. But let's just talk about this, right? So the spells. I'm gonna go off the list. I'm reading the patch notes right now, and I'm gonna have the actual picture of the spell go through when I'm talking about it. So, and I'm gonna talk about each one for PvE, PvP, how it may benefit or may not benefit at all. So I'm going to save the worst one out of the bunch for last, and I'll talk about that one specifically because I am that main class. Usually it's my first wizard main that certain class, and they absolutely destroyed the spell. So let me go down the list. So I'm going to go down and do the fire one first. It does 1,300 fire damage regularly, does double damage if the target you are attacking has 2+ damage over times on them. If hit for that double times, the DOTs of the target will be cleared, so it triages. Now, for this, it's okay for PvP. Why? Because usually, maybe, sometimes fires use Elf, or they use Burning Rampage. The problem is, also, I forgot to mention, these spells are rank 12, so they are 12 pips to cast. So, Fire has a disadvantage because in order to cast this spell, you need to have Fire Elf, and you need to cast it right away in order for the double times. Regardless of where you are, that's the only way to do it. So that's kind of annoying. But for PvP, I can see a use of it because Fires will usually use DOTs to clear out over shields or anything like that. So Fire, if I had to think about a way to buff the Fire one or change it in some way, instead of it being a triage, it just detonates the overtimes on them, does a little bit more extra damage. And maybe it should just detonate any DOT anyways, regardless if it's double times or not, because that would make it more unique, in my opinion. If the DOT you scorn a fire, you detonate that DOT on them. It's not bad. It's not a good. It's a bad, not a bad idea. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna skip this one and go on to the next one. So skiing on a storm, it does 1,380 damage regularly. So it does, I think, less than Owl, if I remember correctly. I don't know, but does double damage if you, the caster, does double damage if the target you're attacking has 75% of greater health. So for PvP, this is perfect for Storm. This could be really good for Storm. Does double damage. With it a chant, it does 3,000 damage. So 3k damage first hit, you can set up for one-shots on certain bosses this way, and it would benefit Storm a lot. For PvP, it's okay. It's not the best because Storm doesn't have, if I remember correctly, really any way to clear shields other than Stormlording, and there's no way you're going to Stormlord into Sky on a Storm. That's just not possible. You need 20 pips for that. You can't get 20 pips. So, it's okay. I can see people using it once, maybe once in a while, but I don't think it's the best. Now, the best one in my opinion. This is the best tree in the game, hands down. And I heard from someone that they wanted to buff Myth, and I think this was the way they were going to do it. Because the tree does 1,260 damage regularly, but does double damage if the target is stunned or you have at least a stun block on. Think about that. In PvP, this is already the best tree in the game. You always put on stun blocks. Why wouldn't you? Everyone carries around stuns. So this is really good, just in general. Skynet and Myth has the best tree, because even in PvE, it's not that bad to put on stun blocks. Why not? You know, mobs stun. You know, you just put it on you and you can attack all the time with 2,760 damage. The thing is also is that it removes all the stun blocks from you when done. Okay, that's the only way, so you gotta put on another stun block in order to do the double damage. But if you only wanted to do it once for PvP, then that's good. You know? And Myth has some interesting spells I could use, you know, to help with that. Ski on a life, yes, sadly life didn't get an attack spell. I didn't think they would, but it does a lot of healing. It's good for Jades, in my opinion. If you're a life wizard and you're fighting a boss that's really hard, the ski on, if you have like a lot of pips and it's just one guy that needs health, ski on a life heals a lot of health. But you can heal more with Pig Z or any other healing spell. So what I think they should do for Ski on a life is make it heal more. I know that's sort of overkill, but think about it. It's 12 pips. If you could heal more with 2 or 3 satyrs, which is about the same amount of pips, you will get better results. And if you can heal with Pigsy, you can heal basically as much health as Skin on Life does to one person to all people. So that's why the Skin on Life. The Skin on Life does do a major heal. It's like a major heal. And it only happens if the target is 25% health or less. If I had to change it, maybe buff that up to 30. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe move that up a bit, you know, percent-wise. It'll probably help a lot more in the PvE and PvP standpoint. I wouldn't see life using this in PvP by themselves. Of course they wouldn't. But maybe in duels, tournaments, I don't know. I'm not that fancy in the PvP scene, but I'm just looking at these spells and looking at an outsider's perspective, so take what I say with a grain of salt. Also, they may change this if Test Realm comes back next weekend, so yeah. Sienna Death drains 1,040 regularly, does double damage, drain to the target you're attacking has 33% health or less. Okay. So this is like one of those situational things, and Death, it's okay. But I would rather not use this, because it's like, in order to get that double health back, I would rather use Lulu than this, because Lulu does all, but in order to get the double health back, the target you have to attack would be pretty much almost dead. So you do get a lot of health back, but it's not really worth it if you're gonna beat his ass anyways. So that's what I think. If I had a choice of how to buff this thing, or maybe make it accurate to the Myth one, maybe a little balanced, maybe change the 33% health threshold about 50%. If they change it about maybe 45% or 50%, it would be more helpful. Scale on a balance does 1,225 damage regularly. Does double damage if you have 6 or more blades. Remove all blades if double conditions met. So, okay, balance for PvP, this is not good at all. But it's okay. You know, I'm not gonna put on 6 blades if I have a balance wizard in PvP. It's just not gonna happen. So, yeah. For PvE, I guess it's controversial. If I had a choice to change this, it's not the best. Balance is not the best one. Change 6 to 3, because, well, not change 6 to 3, but change 6 to 4. The reason why I say change 6 to 4 is because you just put 2 elemental blades on yourself and do it. But the problem is that it does balance damage, so none of the elemental blades are gonna work on it anyways. So, you know what I mean? So maybe change the blades to 4. Alright, let's continue on. So this is the worst tree in the game, hands down. And I'm sad they did this, and they probably did this for a reason. People had been complaining about ice for the longest time. Ice and balance have been the people have been getting complained about the most for not centuries, but for a long time in PvP, because of Abominable Weaver, Lord Master, all that stuff. So for the ice one, it does 1,185 ice damage regularly. That's a lot of ice damage just by itself. That's a lot of ice damage. I understand they don't want ice hitting a lot, but hear me out. Does double 2,370 damage if you, the caster, have full health. Yeah, that's right. Full health. If you get hit by one attack, you can't get that double damage. Now, why is this bad? Ice, you have a lot of health. You don't need that. You don't need that double damage. You're fine. The problem is we don't have a heal. We don't have an ice heal in the game. So, well, we don't have a spell that heals us, basically, like other schools do. So, this is absolutely useless. Even for PvP, it's useless because, not for PvP, for PvE, ice is just useless with this spell because they're always, if they're tanking, they're always going to get hit. Like the first or second round. That's just how mobs are in this game. So this is useless. If I had, and I'm an ice main, right? I've played ice first. This is my death, by the way. Ice was my first school, and I'm not trying to be biased because I love ice or something. But if I had a choice of what to do, instead of making it full health, at least make it 90% health, 90% or more health. Because you know what? Ice has a lot of health, right? So let's say 10,000 health, Ice Wizard. And they don't want Ice doing a lot of damage because Ice is not supposed to be the attacking school. Ice is supposed to be the tank school. So if they make it like 85%, 90% health, around 8,500, 9,000 health, he can use it. Anything below, he can't. All right. At least you could maybe use it in PvP. You know what I mean? So the ice is the worst one. You can't use it in PvE or PvP, so the ice one definitely needs to change. Out of all of them, the ice one is the worst one because you can just get wanded and you can't use it. So if I had to rate like 1 through 7, 7 being the lowest number and 1 being the top, I would go probably Myth at the top and Ice in the bottom, and the rest can be determined by your own thoughts and opinions. So those are the spells. I know they're trying to do exciting, change the spells, make them more unique and stuff at the end of the game, but this flopped. Just like the Mirage spells, they all flopped. So they need to do some stuff. If they want to balance the game, they want to balance these cards out, they need to change them. Alright? And the Myth one is perfectly fine. In my opinion, even though Myth is the most broken one, they should keep it like that because Myth is really good. In my opinion, Myth can be really good in PvP and PvE. But for PvE standpoint, Myth is people would rather have a Storm than a Myth. You know what I mean? If there was a choice between a Storm or a Myth, they would pick a Storm. So yeah, I think that Myth deserves to keep its #1 spot for this world because they haven't really gotten a lot of light shined at them, and I decided to choose Myth because I felt like a lot of people who played the game, Myth was the odd school out. So I decided to play Myth because I was like, yeah, why not try it out? Because I do have a max Myth, so this is cool. That Myth got finally the best spell in a pool of spells that came out. Myth got the best one. Alright, so if I have to talk about storyline for the New World, I'm going to have to rate it about a 9.5 out of 10. The storyline is amazing. I'm not going to spoil anything if none of you guys have played it yet, but it is amazing. They added new bosses, unique stuff, they finally meshed everything together, and it's amazing. Me and my friend played it for a long time, we loved it. We ate that all up, and what they did made sense. People had so many theories about what was going to happen in this world that were totally false. And I had some theories that were going to happen that was totally false. But the way they did it is meshing everything together for the end that we don't know what's going to happen yet. But excited. So the storyline is pretty good. The only thing I wish they did was maybe spread out the world a little bit longer. Maybe a little bit longer, but it's a part of a world, so I understand. It's already, if they stretched that part 2 longer, then it would be a long world like Chrysalis. Chrysalis, and there's not a world long as Chrysalis, because Chrysalis has the most quests in the game. So they did a really good job for what they had. For content, if I look at this content, out of their part 1, part 2 has a little bit more content than part 1 did. Maybe a little bit, not quest-wise. They definitely have a little bit less quests, maybe about 10 or 20 quests. but the quests are longer because they're going through the pirate route. So the new community manager, I know it's not his fault, I know it's not him, but the new community manager for King's Isle now came from Pirate 101, and I feel like how they're doing the quest is like Pirate 101. So how Pirate 101 did quests was most of their quests were there was not a lot of quests to do, but the main quests were long. Like each quest took a long time to complete to get that XP level up and stuff like that. So I feel like the going on that route was a little bit more because there was a lot of dungeon quests, like a lot of dungeon quests, which I liked. If you mean by dungeon quests, I meant instances, I guess, but there's a lot of instance quests, and I felt like leveling up to 129, which is basically what you could level up before the game kicks you out for spoilers and stuff. And if that means that you can't continue past a certain point until they remove it, then yeah, it seemed like a long world and stuff like that. Other stuff they added the Whirly Burly game, which could probably use a little bit of work. When I first played it, I didn't get it. I got it eventually after playing it for a little bit more, but they should explain more on how to capture people and what push or capture stuff, whatnot, because I kind of didn't understand that. But I probably just spammed through the quest and I'm probably just dumb. Forehead. What else? They have I guess new crafting gear. I haven't really looked at the crafting gear. I heard the crafting gear is really good, and I heard the Endgame drops are really good. To get the hat and the boots are basically upgraded versions of the 125 Kabbalah's boots and hat, so grab those. And they also have a new ring that replaces Mimic, and they also have a new deck that replaces Rat. Finally, a new deck. The only thing, it has more stats, but it makes you have 2 less copies, but whatever. Honestly, copies can go kill themselves. Maybe for PvP you need copies, but for PvE it doesn't matter to me. Time-wise, the part wasn't that short. And sure, we were taking a bit of time, you know, reading the dialogue and stuff, but if a normal person do that, right, and I played it from when we launched around 2 o'clock, I played from 2 to around 5, played for 3 hours, and then I had school, and I came back at around around 8, and didn't stop till 3 a.m. So that's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about if a normal person was speedrunning it, if it was a speedrun, probably take about 4 hours to 5 hours to complete. Maybe a little bit less if you have a full team that know what they're doing, blah blah blah. You can kill them really quickly. Probably about 3 to 4 hours of actual in-game content. But for a normal person who's just doing it with a friend or soloing it, you have about a good 7 to 9 hours of gameplay, which is really good for a part of a world, believe it or not. I thought they were gonna just be like, easy game, dude, complete it really quickly. But no, there's actually a lot. There's a lot of new characters you get to learn, a lot of new areas. This is like the biggest area in the game right now. I wish I was just there instead of this, but I recorded the video when test one was down, so can't show you that. But there's a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of new areas, and it's a great part. I was really surprised that they did a good job with this part. There's a lot of stuff people complained about, obviously, because of like the reskin bosses and the spells suck. Yeah, the spells do suck, but overall, Empire Part 2 is the only test job I actually completed that I wanted to keep on completing because I wanted to get to the end and I wanted to see what happens, and I wanted to, you know, finally explore, not explore, but, you know, enjoy content that KI has finally launched. Because recently, for the past couple of months, the summer and the spring update for Test Realm was like 30 minutes. You would go in, explore, and then leave. There was not really any new content. For the spring, there was 2 skeleton key bosses you could do. Not really much after that. And then for the summer, it was just an update, a graphical update. Nothing really after that. So, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, my final grade is a 9 out of 10 for Empire Part 2. Really good. It's just that one point is off is because of the spells. They need to be changed. So they need to be balanced and tweaked because, in my opinion, it's unfair. I know people say, "Oh, you're an ice wizard." It's unfair for an ice to basically not have a working spell. All right, ice hasn't gotten a main hit that's been good as Weaver versus Weaver. All right, other spells have gotten good attack spells like Storm's gotten. Storm's Mirage spell does still do a lot of damage. You know, they got Rusalka. You know, they got a lot of good circle hits now. You know, Ice, me, we got Penguins, and Polaris, and Penguins are not even that good. They're a Tempest, like a Tempest, really. So, in my opinion, just the spells need to be changed, and then that's it. They also do need to fix obviously, some animation problems, death sound animation problems. That feels rushed, really rushed. Like, there was some mobs we killed, me and my friend killed, that didn't even have a death sound. They just disappeared. Like, no animation, no sound. They just disappeared. So they need to work on that a bit. But other than else, really good update. I hope to see you guys all another time when Test Realm comes back out. Whenever they release the spoiler, I will actually stream my reaction to the final boss. Hopefully, if I can. If I can't, then I can't. But if I can, I will, because I'm excited to find out what happens. So I'll see you guys later. If you like the video, please like. And if you want to hear more content, all you have to do is press subscribe. And that's all you have to do. So I'll see you guys all later. Have a wonderful day.